Every baby is truly a bundle of innocent bliss and joy. Healthy, normal. He is a picture of hope and a promising future. However, he could be one in every 20,000 babies who, although appearing quite normal at birth, will at some time develop a condition counted among a dreaded group of diseases called rare or orphan disorders. These are long-standing, life-threatening, progressive and disabling conditions that require multidisciplinary care and which afflict babies from all socio-economic classes. But since these disorders have yet to be fully grasped and understood by medical science, babies afflicted with these conditions oftentimes are not given immediate attention due to delayed and incorrect diagnosis, subjecting them even more to serious health risks and consequences. Still, babies fortunate enough to have been diagnosed properly and promptly face yet another serious challenge: the high cost of treatment and medication, well beyond the reach of most Filipino families. But for the few who may have the means, optimum care is still elusive due to the scarcity of specialists and facilities that can effectively handle their special needs. Since these disorders affect only a small percentage of the population, very little attention is spared by government, health organizations, and the public at large. Very few doctors specialize in this discipline. Pharmaceutical companies tend to overlook the manufacture of products for these conditions because of the small or even zero profit potential. And the genetic nature of these disorders makes research painstakingly long and difficult. Consequently, patients with rare disorders have been isolated from the health sector and the society. As such, they have been considered as social and medical orphans. While other countries like the US, the European Union, Australia, Japan, and Taiwan have already enacted laws that promote awareness, support diagnostics, and treatment of orphan diseases, the Philippines continuously struggles with a poor reporting system, diagnostic delay and difficulty, and lack of a support system, leaving patients desperately fighting for their lives, alone and in the dark. Francine is one of 69 patients diagnosed with maple syrup urine disease. Although Mead Johnson provides her with a special formula required for her condition, this free allocation is limited. Once the supply runs out, her family must purchase this milk formula at a price they can hardly afford. Twins Fatima and Erica were orphaned when they were only 3 months old, and left to care for them was their uncle and their aunt, a tricycle driver and a housewife, respectively. At age 2, Fatima started having nosebleeds frequently. Hematoma appeared all over her body and tiny red lumps on her skin. She was weak and lethargic, had no appetite, and looked pale. And although her arms and limbs were thin, her abdomen became enlarged. Initial diagnosis pointed to leukemia, then beta thalassemia, but after months of confinement and a battery of tests, which included painful bone marrow extractions, the results were now conclusive: Gaucher's disease. Erica, who did not have any of the symptoms, was, upon their doctor's advice, also tested. The results were disheartening. Erica, too, had the dreaded disease. Medication had to be imported from Australia, and the cost was very high. This prompted the twins' uncle and aunt to frantically solicit funds, only to be rejected due to the huge amount required. Miraculously, donors were found through their emailed plea for help, a last act of desperation. Every year, the twins require about 12 million pesos in contributions from kind hearts, just to cover their medical expenses. Today, Fatima and Erica are healthier and more active than ever, with no trace of the disease. Yet their treatments must be regular for every day of their survival, and there is no telling how long the kind contributions will continue. As a child, Decoy was just like any other healthy, normal boy, hyperactive, playful, and fun-loving. As he grew up, however, he increasingly found it difficult to keep up with his friends. He couldn't run as fast, climb the stairs as fast, and swim as fast as his playmates. And his physical development became much slower than his peers. Doctors speculated at first that this was due to Decoy being flat-footed. So, corrective inserts were prescribed to be worn along with his shoes. Yet Decoy's condition worsened even further. At age 10, he was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, and he and his family accepted it as the final and accurate diagnosis, as his condition continued to deteriorate. While on a trip to the US 6 years later, Decoy consulted a specialist in muscular dystrophy who gave the correct but an even worse diagnosis: Pompey's disease, a disorder which causes the deterioration of the body's muscular system. At age 27, Decoy goes about his day on a wheelchair and aided by a breathing machine. Despite having to depend on others even for the simplest activities, he has managed to get his degree in industrial design, as well as lead a productive life by forming and running a business of his own, an inspirational tower of strength for the rest of us, who are even considered the more fortunate. To uphold the primary concerns and welfare of individuals with orphan disorders, a private, non-profit organization was formed. Incorporated as the Philippine Society for Orphan Disorders, the organization envisions itself to be the central network for the advocacy and effective coordination of all viable efforts in sustaining a better quality of life for Filipinos with orphan disorders. The Society's primary goals are as follows: increase public awareness on rare disorders in the country, develop and establish a nationwide registry of relevant and material statistical data, medications, drug trials, and all other pertinent information about orphan diseases. Promote and support relevant and timely research for a better understanding and treatment of orphan disorders. Participate in policy formulation, advocacy, and legislation of national and international relevance. Develop and strengthen the relationship among institutions involved in the care of orphan patients. Develop and provide training for health professionals, paramedics, and community health workers on the care of these patients in various scenarios. And be self-reliant by mobilizing resources and funds to be put in its very own endowment fund, interest earnings of which will be used to fund the needs of patients and the organization on a sustained, long-term basis. Truly, There is so much that must be done for victims of orphan diseases. With your help and caring, they don't have to be alone. With your generous support, we can give them a new lease on life. They deserve this chance.